One of the important things which I learned in my life, opportunities don't come every day. It will come to you and you will have to grab it.
When you said India has landed on the moon, what was that moment like?
No, I really rejoiced it. And I would have been happier with Prime Minister on our side on that day.
How is ISRO engaging with India's ever-growing private space sector?
After the space sector opened recently and the new space policy has come out, there is a huge possibility for industries to connect with ISRO stronger.
What changed in the last decade?
The support from the government has been enormous. I can also tell you that there has been support in terms of missions like Chandrayaan.
Prime Minister's vision with ISRO.
ISRO can accomplish it, so he is demanding more now.
But when your biopic gets made, which Indian actor would you want to play you?
Amitabh Bachchan. He is too tall.
Welcome to MyGov. This is me, Korak Roy, your friend, and the person who brings to you the podcast series GDP at MyGov, Growth, Dreams, Passion. We gave this name specially for the youngsters of the country that the Prime Minister says are one of the pillars of the country out of the 4 pillars of the country, the young guns of India. They want to build their careers, they want to make a future for themselves, and of course, want to make India's future better as well. This particular podcast series is for all those young individuals who want to become scientists, who want to become space scientists, and we have here a man we can't have, and we have here a guest that we couldn't have asked anyone better than him. The man whose words resonated with every Indian living in the country and every Indian living across the world when he said, India is on the moon. We have here with us Chairman of the Indian Space Research Organization, S. Somanath sir. S. Somanath sir, a very, very warm welcome to MyGov. Thank you so much. Sir, how are you?
I'm all fine. Great going.
Lovely to hear that. Sir, we definitely want to talk about Chandrayaan. We definitely want to talk about ISRO and its plans. But we also want to get to know the man that S. Somanath sir is. So if you can tell us a little about how your childhood in Kerala was like.
That was a village setting way back 60s. When I was born, it was more of a place where there was no electricity. There was village school, studying in Malayalam, but a lot of books around. Reading was one of the passion. Going out in the village, doing fishing, climbing the trees, swimming across. It was a watery place for me. But there was a lot of learning, education, trust was there in the family. Because of that, I had a passion to read, understand, learn. Quite a bit well read at that point in time because of the libraries around, the school, and the support from my parents. So the schooling was even less, I must tell you. And though I stood first in the state for science, I really didn't understand that how I became one, because there was no competition. There was no competition, there was no tuition, there was nothing special pushed from anyone to accomplish that. You can imagine. But then later years, set the interest in science, mathematics. For me as well as for my sister, both of us did very well in schooling, education, and I had the fortune to get admitted to engineering. At that time, there was no entrance test. Because of that only I went into engineering. Otherwise, I wouldn't have even written that test. Because I had no idea about what it is. So that's how I became an engineer. But then once you are into a professional education, that you know a little bit more about the world, what are the goals, what are the aspirations and possibilities, and it became wider when I joined ISRO.
Absolutely amazing. So you mentioned that the village that you were living in Kerala didn't have electricity for a number of years. When did electricity actually become a norm then in the village? Which year?
Electricity was there far away. I have seen in the street lights some far away places, but it has not reached to my house yet. I remember it came when I was after 10th schools.
Wow.
It was in my +2 time frame. Electricity reached my house. Because of some initiative, some local people, it was there.
So a student who's studying in a household where there's no electricity for the first 10 years of his student life, up till 10th standard, so more than 10 years actually, how does that kid then develop this love and this passion for space research? How did that happen?
See, I never realized that electricity not having electricity is a deficiency. So that's the first thing. The kerosene lamp that was burning where I was reading, I still remember I had not even a table and a chair to sit and read. We were mostly on the floors reading on a small lamp. I felt it's okay, and there was nothing special about it. So the most important part is that whether you are loving what you are learning. The schools were excited. There was always excitement. My teachers were splendid teachers. So I think those physical infrastructure are secondary, in my opinion. What is most important is the motivation, the surroundings, the ecosystem around you. If that is conducive for this, I think you will realize your dreams.
Absolutely amazing to hear that, sir. Talking about realizing your dreams, then the journey with ISRO started. What were the initial years at ISRO like for you?
When I went and joined ISRO, I was not aware of what exactly is in store for me. Being a topper from engineering also, I was not into research, to be specific. I still remember when I went into ISRO, I was asked by one of the eminent scientists at that time who was interviewing all of us after joining to understand where we should be placing each one of you, in which division, which section, what domain. I still remember very clearly, I requested him to place me where something is happening. So I wanted to go to a place which is a happening place rather than a deep into research or anything. So I was into making something happen. Then they put me in the right place. That place was PSLV project, which was developing the Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle at that point in time. And I joined the team, worked in the PSLV project until its first successful flight for almost 10 years. So that was a time I had opportunity to meet one of the finest of the scientists, engineers, managers, people managers really, and learn the trick of the trade.
Lovely to hear. So you mentioned something very interesting, which when people outside would hear you speak, when people outside would see the press conferences or the videos during Chandrayaan 3, they wouldn't really get this idea. But I kind of got this idea. You mentioned you decided to do engineering because entrance test was not there. You said that when you joined ISRO, even then you were not very sure as to what was in store for you. So does that mean, would you fall into a category of a person who has it always all planned, or would it be slightly on the opposite side?
Nothing is really planned in that manner, and ever through my life I have seen it like this. See, you don't have to really plan that manner. You have to only prepare yourself.
Very true.
So once you prepare, the opportunities will come. One of the important things which I learned in my life, opportunities don't come every day.
True.
It will come to you and you will have to grab it, take it, and confidently pursue it. And never give scared of additional work, tasks, or responsibility that will come in your way. I never shunned any responsibility throughout my career. I was looking for work all the time. So whatever I could gather, I always gathered, collected, and brought it to myself, and worked with my teammates to do it, make it happen. So that's how it was. I still remember the first division which I joined. Most of the work which I did was not actually mandated to be done in that division, but still I took all those tasks. And I had a fortunate to have one of my boss, Mr. Ramakrishnan, who also had this nature of collecting all the work from every place. So nobody is willing to do that work, he will take it.
Lovely.
And he will bring it and dump it on our head. So that gives us such a capability. I remember that I have been doing type of work which was not within my skill sets at all. So, but that once you start doing it, you develop the skill set and ability, confidence, all of that.
Absolutely. Which also made you learn more in those initial
years. Of course, learning happens in those younger ages.
Yes.
You shun away work, you do a limited amount of work, it will affect you in the future years. Able to understand how things work, how people work, and what complex situations that you will go through.
Sir, we want to talk about Chandrayaan 3. Obviously, it was such a historic moment for ISRO, Indian space movement, for India across the world. If you can tell us, what were some of the maybe most major challenges that were going through during that process, and how did the team in totality overcome that?
See, if you look back after the landing that didn't happen very well in 2019, Chandrayaan 2, there was a team working on the failure analysis. I was also part of that team to find out what went wrong. And of course, almost a year of experiments, hypothesis, evaluation, we were on some aspect of the failure. And second part was what all corrections need to be done was another effort. The changes that are required, the software changes, the simulation, additional tests, we have to plan and build those systems. And the third year, we were building the Chandrayaan 3 final hardware, and the entire simulation test was going on. So when I came in as the chairman of ISRO, I was into that part of it, where the testing was going on. Many tests were supposed to be done. All the test results had to be deciphered, understood, what exactly are the possible risks now. But then, to our fortune, we were still not discovered one of the key issue. And I was very happy that when I came in, I had a fortune to know about one of the test data, which showed another symptom. And this symptom was very clearly indicating the potential danger in this mission. And we were very lucky to detect it through a critical test and made enough corrections on it. And that's how the process of investigation correction is like a police story. It is like a criminal investigation.
Absolutely.
Of a failure. It's very tough one. It requires many domain skills. Understanding the psycho of the people, about the data, how to interpret the data, and find out those small signals which will differentiate between success and failure. It was a rigorous application of mind of hundreds of people, not one or me alone. And all of that inputs came together at some place, and we had to take a decision whether to proceed or not to proceed. And that decision was not taken in the early January of 2023, which I said that we should give it little more time until we are very sure about it. That's why the launch went to July. Yes.
Absolutely amazing, sir. Sir, you did mention so much of the work that happened after Chandrayaan 2's concluding moments, which didn't really become a success. So when Sir Vikram lander lost contact in the last few minutes, which then led to the moment which didn't become a success, what was that day or those few days for the team like, if you can tell us a little, and how quickly was the team able to get past that and move on to the next project, which was immediately Chandrayaan 3?
See, on that day, it was very disheartening to see that the communication was lost, because you understood much later, but we couldn't understand what happened on that day. With the communication loss, many things are possible. Possibly, it would have landed well. Then, unfortunately, the transmitter is not working. Very small part of the mission is not working, but it would have landed well. We can think like that.
Correct.
Or it could be a communication link failure on the orbiter side, or could be a ground problem on Earth that could have given such a wrong impression. So we need to make sure what exactly gone wrong. We should not make a declaration that we are unable to know whether it has crash landed or otherwise. So it was a very cautious approach. So we in the senior positions need to follow a cautious approach at that moment. You cannot make loud announcements. But then we understood that everything is not good. So we need to figure out. So there are many attempts done. The first and foremost was to look for that craft at that location, whether imaging is possible to find out. So we tried that. We could find some signatures, but not a very high resolution images. Then we looked at sending many commands to it to see whether it is responding to those commands. So that was tried, couldn't find any reason for it. Then is collecting all the data, which was up to the data loss point. We collected all the data, tried to synthesize and find out over a period of time what could have gone wrong. Then it was very clear that there was a problem of tumbling, and it would have gone with a high velocity on the ground. And when anything goes with a high velocity, we can expect what could have happened. Though we don't know precisely what happened, but we can assume that it should have happened, this causing a damage to it. So this revelation of this came little later, not on that day. But on that day, it was more of a sad event. And you know that this message was conveyed to Honorable Prime Minister. He was there at that moment. He left us there and asked us to continue the observation to find out. Came back to console us and tell us about the failure are not really the failures. These are stepping stones to our next success. So all this gave us courage. But I can tell you, all of us are prepared in this type of missions for any contingency.
True.
Even for Chandrayaan 3, the one successful landing, mentally we are prepared for any such events. But then it doesn't mean that we have not done our work.
Absolutely.
Even after doing the work, there are possibilities. So state of mind is that I can only talk about myself personally, that I am ready to handle either a success or a failure with equanimity or the same level of state of mind. So I was not perturbed by the what I saw there on that day. So only thing to look at this time is what next, whether what we should do to find more about it, and what the way we should handle the situation in the eyes of the public, in the eyes of the government, in front of our colleagues who did the work, and there are many people we need to face. So that preparation was going on in the mind.
Lovely. So you mentioned the moment when Prime Minister Narendra Modi was there. There was a moment when he was hugging K. Shivan sir and consoling him, and that quite literally became a talking point across the world. What was that moment like for you and the team? And was that something that gave a fair amount of encouragement?
Of course, when Prime Minister consoles the chief of the space agency, all of us will look towards it with a great care and enthusiasm to see whether what he is speaking, how he is handling the situation, and how our boss is responding to it. It's always happy to note that the whole event was more of consolation and giving assured confidence by the government to us. So that gave us courage. Suppose it was other way, possibly we would have been depressed to a level that we will, I don't know what would have happened to in our minds. But Honorable Prime Minister did the right thing, in my opinion, for all of us to be becoming courageous enough to handle the next challenge. It was such an emotional event, though I was not present by the side. I have seen it only little far away. I was not able to go near to him. But then we saw it in the videos much more closer about the emotional content of that.
Absolutely. You mentioned the challenges, sir, that soon came. Let's talk about Chandrayaan 3. The moment, the day, the entire world was watching, all of India was watching. What was that day like? And was there like a countdown in your head that you are seeing that this is getting towards success? What were those last few moments like?
See, I would have made an announcement even much ahead of that landing that it is going to be successful. In fact, I remember a few days ahead of it, I made a presentation to the Institute of Science, to the students, on the complexity of Chandrayaan 3 mission and our confidence on this mission, and it's going to make a safe landing this time. So I was very sure about it. The reason is simple, that we have made a lot of effort to make sure the lessons from Chandrayaan 2 are really applied in this Chandrayaan 3, and the corrections are done. And till then, up to that point, the spacecraft was doing fine. The mission, the launching was perfect into the right orbit. The orbit rising was very good. All the sensors on board were working. We did a trial firing of the engines prior to that also. It was giving excellent results. All the sensors were perfect, and software is really good. And we did a lot of failure simulations also on board to see whether anything can go wrong. So with that type of test data in front of me, I had no doubt about it. I was at ease, at ease, expecting the momentous event to happen.
Amazing. So I mentioned this in my intro as well. Your words, the line you said, quite literally resonated with Indians across the country, across the globe, when you said India has landed on the moon, which was also the fourth country and also the first country on the lunar.
On the lunar south side.
Exactly. So that moment when you said that line, the joy in the entire team that you saw, and I kid you not, the joy that was going through all of the country at that point of time who were watching it live. What was that moment like?
No, I really rejoiced it. And I would have been happier with Prime Minister on our side on that day. Of course, he was he was
there live watching.
He was there live watching. Of course, I could understand that. But then being physically would have been much more lovelier.
Yeah.
But then we were waiting for him to come back, and I am very thankful to him that straight from BRICS Summit, he came to Bangalore early mornings and then came and met us. So he was telling all you people are in the morning itself waiting for me. So he was very sorry for that part. But still, he came, addressed all of us, and congratulated us. It was a very proud moment for us. Even for Prime Minister to watch it live, it's really something fantastic. And for us, it was a moment of joy, I know. In the hall, the people who have been toiling for years together to build it were all there. So including some of the veterans who have been working, our former chairman, former scientists who helped us to build this, they're all there. So in fact, that moment we thanked all of them for their wonderful contributions.
Amazing. So contributions galore have happened since then as well. And we want to talk about a mission that youngsters who are space enthusiasts are extremely excited about, and that is Gaganyaan.
Yes. So Gaganyaan is a very complex mission. So we have been first focusing on the rocket to be made all right, because rockets launch a satellite, but when you launch a human being, it need to be perfected to a level that you can't have failures. And if at all there are failures, we must have a mechanism to save the crew. So these two aspects were addressed in the last many years, about 5 years or so, and we made all the corrections needed, and the new rocket is ready. And the second part is the readiness of the capsule in which we have to travel. We started designing a capsule which was a little bigger one, and meantime we went into the analysis. We found that it's massive, heavier, so we have to scale down in between. So this process costed a little bit of time and overheads on us. So that work was done, and currently we have the final craft ready. We did a test with the test abort missions last year, and we are going to continue such missions in the continuation. There are many systems to be developed called service module, crew seats, environmental control support systems, onboard computers which will deal with the complex onboard algorithms, launch vehicle health management system which we have engineered and developed, gas, oxygen and many other supply systems, parachute systems, new solid motors, all we have completed in the last so many years. So we are reached now a threshold where we know it fully integrated, fully ready for launch this year, and possibly we will be having the mission of the unmanned mission with the Vyomitra robot this year end.
Absolutely. And even Prime Minister, in the inauguration, the four space scientists that ISRO has picked out, even that was announced. And
space scientists, they are the astronauts.
The astronauts, sorry, my bad.
We call them Gaganyatris nowadays.
Gaganyatris, yes. The 4 Gaganyatris that were announced, their training and everything is going on full-fledged?
Yeah, they have gone through that drill the last few years. They were selected from Air Force, test pilots. Then they were sent for training in Russia. Went through almost a year of training in the Star City. After that, they came back. We continued with the training, both theoretical, practical, experiment. No, they are not the people who are just going to fly. They are the people, they are going to help us design the Gaganyaan. So we don't have anybody to seek help from now. So the people who are actually going to travel, who have an experience of travel, the training, they interact with us to develop the various features of the Gaganyaan crew module. And that crew module is one which we are now flying. And some of them are now selected to go to International Space Station, ISS, and they will go to an American training program now. They are already in USA, and 2 of them will go through that. After that, 1 of them will fly to the International Space Station as well and come back. Then they will, out of the 4, 1 of them will go, or 1 or more of them will go for the Gaganyaan program.
We are extremely excited, sir, and we cannot wait. Sir, ISRO is famous and it's known for achieving exceptional feats at very modest budgets. So much so that even a movie was made, Mission Mangal became a grand success. So what is the reason behind this, sir? How much does the efficiency play a role in that, dedication play a role in that? Tell us the secret behind this.
Cost comes out of many elements. First thing is we don't do unwanted stuff. So first you decide on what are the priorities that you have. So prioritizing total activity is very important. Second element is that we are focusing on technology development. And technology development is happening inside the organization on a continuous manner. It's not when a mission is announced, like Chandrayaan is announced, that we are developing technology. The technology development has been going on. So this feeds into the system. So this is second part of it. Third part of it is that even while we configure a project or a new program, we look at how to bring down the budget to a substantially low number. It's at the conceptual level we have discussed this. What are the sizes, masses, capabilities, approaches to realization, manufacturing processes, technologies that cost technology, number of models that you need to make, and number of tests that you need to do. And we thoroughly discuss internally to find out, optimize it or minimize it rather to a barest minimum, which will find a way to get a clearance. We are aware of, very sensitive of the money that can come from the government. Second part of is in the internal process, the procurement is very important because we don't do undue contractual provisions to over procure. Contractual management is very efficient. Rather, we do not waste the money, and we put our own people on that type of work. We don't subcontract as much and most of the design is done internally, not really outside. So our own people do the most of the design. We don't subcontract the designs.
So by that, what you mean is not a lot of work is outsourced.
We are not outsourcing the core technical work at all.
Lovely.
The entire technical work is done by internal team. But manufacturing is happening in industry. That's a different thing. We don't do manufacturing because we have not created facilities for manufacturing. They are only for R&D. So the manufacturing happens outside. R&D takes place, development takes place, design takes place internally.
Correct.
Then we also work on reuse. That is, one hardware is taken for a testing. And after testing, it will be still good. And it's not thrown away. It will be brought back, a little bit of refurbishment, use it again for sometimes flight. In fact, when I was a was a project director, I know at least many hardwares which I had tested were refurbished, cleaned up, changed a few things and flown also.
And then they reach space as well.
Yeah, of course. So this culture is very much internal to our system. How to, even to build a flight item from a scrap, nothing wrong, no?
Absolutely. How is ISRO engaging with India's ever-growing private space sector?
On the private space sector, I must tell you, there are many elements of it. One is industries who have been working with us, the big, small MSMEs, small suppliers. The supply chain is a very important item. They supply from parts, cables, connectors, steels, alloys, manufactured parts, integration of circuits, testing equipments. So they have hundreds of such companies who are suppliers. And many of them were developed by ISRO by partnering with them to develop some skills and capabilities. But some of them have scaled up to become integrators of systems. So we hand over the integration activities to them. But the new emergence of space industries is very important. People who are having competence to design, develop rockets, design and develop satellites, and build applications and launch them. They are in the form of startups. Some of them have become companies who are worth noticing. We connect them with them, all of them. I think we have been mentoring companies in the past to build them capabilities. But after the space sector opened recently and the new space policy has come out, there is a huge possibility for industries to connect with ISRO stronger. Earlier, we were restrained to hand over knowledge to them. This was a strategic area. So we were not allowed to share the knowledge, share the facilities, share the materials or skills. Today, it's not so. It's opened totally. The knowledge that we have created out of the public money is for everybody. So everyone is encouraged to work with ISRO to develop. Our facilities that we have created inside are for you to come and use it.
Sir, India recently signed Artemis Accord with the United States of America. Please tell us what it means for India's space program.
See, Artemis Accord is a framework which USA has proposed to make all nations to come forward to work for a common good of exploring outer planetary spaces. So it is not a legally binding on you, but it is an advisory part of it. So you can be part of that team where you will work together for exploration, Moon, Mars, or any planets or asteroids, etc. You will work within the framework of this joint working, sharing information, not causing damage, working together. Maybe when you develop rockets or planetary explorations, we'll be able to work together to create some capabilities. Also work on policies and directions and guidelines which will be agreeable to all of them. So the Artemis framework is that. There is something called Artemis program, which is a different thing, which we are not part yet now. But we have been working on this Artemis Accord. We have been signatory now. We have been part of the discussions and creation of those framework, growing the framework and becoming more members are joining there. So happy to be part of it because we would like also to be a part of the exploration vision.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sir, India is being viewed as a Vishwabandhu. I'll directly translate, the world's friend. India's space sector has also played a huge role in India becoming the world's friend at this point of time. So tell us about that and Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision behind that.
No, it is very important vision. India has been always the Vishwa Guru, where we never attacked anyone. We always talked about Loka Samastha Sukhino Bhavantu. All be blessed, all be comfortable, all be happy, and hand over whatever knowledge we created within the system, we gave to the world, and never to impose anything on others. And this was a culture that was there, which was been attacked, snubbed to a great extent. But the new India is rising, in which we look forward to create or recreate those past glory, not to be basked in the glory, but to create it within our own strength and offer it to everyone. That's why some of those traditions that we have created in India, such as the Ayurveda, the yogic yoga, and many of those things are being talked about now globally as some of those knowledge system, Indian knowledge system, which should be replicated elsewhere. And we don't want to simply bask in that glory alone, but to create new knowledges. Yeah, the new knowledge includes science and technology of the modern age, which is the space becomes a beacon of hope, because though we have been working much behind others in the past, we were able to overcome those gaps and bring it us to some level of competence as good as of many others. This is a hope that we have.
India is a country that has always had incredible talent. Decades back, centuries back, also, it had incredible talent. So did India, so did ISRO. What changed in the last decade that now ISRO is happening launches by the month, achievements by the month? What would you say the shift that happened in the last decade or so, the change that caused it to the last decade or so?
The first part of the was the capability development phase. Some threshold has to be reached. One. Second part is the policy changes that enabled by the government. As you said, that the support from the government has been enormous. And looking at the sector, there was critical assessment of the sector to look at what is going right or wrong and what need to be done. Especially the emergence of the private space ecosystem is something very, very phenomenal. And government saw the signal, what is happening world over, how private entrepreneurs the world over are taking over from established space agencies and operators, and how they are creating value, economic value in the space sector, and how this can feed into the state of economy in the long term. And second part is the strategic element of space also has been well understood now. It's no longer a civilian part. It has every asset that we are creating is national wealth, and what are the security threats related to it. And all these elements are now factored, and considering that the government has come out with a good policy, which of course I told you the opening of the space sector which happened. But of course support was throughout there, but opening of the space sector is an important event. Then I can also tell you that there has been support in terms of missions like Chandrayaan. Earlier we were talking only about agriculture, water resources, societal services, etc. Exploration was never in the agenda. Sending man to moon was never been thought about. Now, after having established certain capability, it is important for us, a nation which is progressively looking at its scale, its economy, can't close its eyes from all the exploration, because scientific talents need to be encouraged. So that's why Chandrayaan 1 came, Chandrayaan 2 came, Mars Orbital came, Exposat came, and Chandrayaan 3 came, and we are going to have proposals to build space station and also send a man to moon. So that shift in thinking is very important. That happens only by the policymakers and government. With the growth in the strength and capability, it's also happening. So I must thank the political system, the government and the Prime Minister currently for supporting us to create a new vision.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you mentioned vision and the Prime Minister as well. Prime Minister's vision with ISRO, he's been so vocal about it so often. How much has that, like, not a direct role maybe, but how encouraging has that been for you, your team, everybody?
It is very, very encouraging, because unless he sees merit in it, I am sure he will not support it. The Chandrayaan 3 has been a huge game changer, because succeeding in such a mission is complex. And if ISRO can accomplish it, he can demand more, naturally. So he is demanding more now, that it's not to be limited to this alone. We need to do many more things, especially in creating more capability, strength in space, in Earth observation communication. Create value in it through engagement with the different space actors, which who are private people, enterprises, industries in a bigger manner, so as to create utility of it. This utility part is much we stressing. It's not enough that you put a capability there, Earth observation. The data must be utilized, how it is utilized, how to create value, downline value. Economy of space, if you look at 70% of the economy is in the downline applications, not in the launching of satellites, which you are capable. But now he's thrusting on applications and its delivery. And third part is that opening of the space sector, creating new innovations in the private. The current governmental ecosystem can create certain amount of innovations, but better innovations could be created outside in the private. So we are looking at youngsters coming forward to create new ideas, new concepts, and that should not be suppressed by the establishment. So how to give a vent for all of that possibility. If an idea is there, how to convert it into an opportunity. So this is also, we are now tasked to do such things. That's very important.
Amazing to hear. So if a young student comes to you and says, I want to be a scientist, But sir, how can I do that? What should I study? Uh, which stream should I go for in higher studies? How should I try to look for internships? So how will you be able to maybe help that student? How can that student who wants to be a scientist make their path?
Of course, this has to do many things with his settings where he is from. For example, his school, his family, the society plays an important role in shaping one's career. But nothing stops him if he has a real passion. None of these are not important. But this has a helping hand. So first thing he must realize it is to get through the system. See, unfortunately, our system is based on evaluation, marks, and examinations. And without going through that, you won't be even noticed, even if you have a talent. So, one advice I'll give to the children is to go through that system. Of course, though you may not like or dislike that, doesn't matter now, but you need to get through that. See, getting admission to a premier institution requires certain going through a competitive examination, getting through it. It's important at this moment. Even if you think that I have a great talent, but I don't know how to get through it, you will not be anywhere. So one skill set that you need to have is to know how to get through it. And second is not to be limited in some aspect of it. You need to have a broader view of the universe. Universe means the whole thing around you. So you need to have a large reading habit. So I always tell them, don't worry too much about what you want to be. You want to be a space scientist, you want to be a software writer. Don't bother about all of that. You will make it a little later. Many a times you have to be a voracious reader of many material, not the social media stuff that you are seeing.
Oh, so true.
Okay, not that stuff, not the reels that you are able to see and spend time, but the material stuff which is very important for you to create awareness about it, the questioning mentality, and also connection of us with the society. I think everything, you should not be a scientist of pure scientist. You should know what are the implications of doing things science. So once you are a broader person, you will seek opportunity, you know where you to go, and you will find out yourself. See, nobody can help you every step.
True.
You can only tell them a global approach. So any student which I come, I don't tell him, you take this physics, you take chemistry, you take biology. Absolutely no. I will never advise like that. I will only advise you to seek for your passion. What exactly is residing within you? What is that in giving you that, that enthusiasm, energy? Look for it and go behind it. So once you go that, I think those people will make it very well.
Absolutely. Amazing, amazing advice. When we asked questions to our viewers, MyGov viewers, and they send the questions for you about one particular question that we got out of the 1800 questions, maybe 150, 200 of those was that how can me as a young scientist or as a young engineer, how can I try to work at ISRO?
Work at ISRO means you want to join ISRO?
Yes,
of
yes.
course. Okay, those who are very interested to join, keep that hope. But then coming to ISRO has many, many channels. We take young engineers on an annual basis. We recruit them through a national test. So we announce it regularly. But annually we take maybe 100, 200 people. But this test is very fiercely competitive test, objective test, based on the branch of engineering that you are working. And you'll have to pass through the test and attend an interview after that. And we give a lot of weightage to the test and interview as well, okay, to some extent. And that's one way for engineers to join. But if you are a science enthusiast, if you are a science studying physics, chemistry, mathematics, biology, we recruit them at different levels, in master's level or in PhD level. So not in graduate level, undergraduate level we don't take, but in the graduate level only very limited for some not that scientific work. So I'll recommend them to join only in master's or doctoral level. We take other scientists in other domains like agriculture, geospatial technologies, geography, ocean sciences, forestry. This type of skills are also recruited on a few numbers. We recruit annually, we advertise and then recruit annually. Those who are interested to join after masters, we MTech or that skills, we announce special recruitments for master's degree holders, and they will be called for interview only. There are no tests for them. Then we take PhDs. All PhDs, so those who are interested to join ISRO can register in a live register which is available on the website. You can go and put your biodata and register there, and that registration will be live for 1 year. And whenever we are recruiting PhDs, we will look into the registration, registry and pick those people who have the qualities or the subjects which are suitable to it. And we call them for an interview, and many PhDs join through that channel. Then we have other recruitments like administrative recruitment. We have people joining stores, other procurement management, then personal support systems, I think, and other support services. So we have equally 50% of support services. We have also people with a diploma background, technician background in electronics, mechanical, civil technicians, ITI certificate skill holders. So they also come through national test, skill test, etc. So you have to look for only our website, ISRO website, isro.gov.in, in which regularly you look for it. Every center's advertisements are there. There is a common place you can go for job opportunities, and under that you can see the type of advertisement, the results, everything is open. You can look at what is happening. Currently, there is an interview going on for engineers into ISRO.
Sir, I'll just take 1 minute to say that even when I was asking you this question, I was a little apprehensive because there's all the possibility you could have said all the information is there on the website. You can check it out. But you gave us like a 3 minute detailed answer on different positions as well. Up until now, if you were doing research on how to get a job at ISRO on the website, now you have got the answer from the ISRO chief, S. Somanath sir himself. So apply, yes, apply your way to glory. So the minds working at ISRO, it's safe to say, no arguments that they are some of the brightest minds of the country. What do these brightest minds of the country do when they are taking a break from work? Is it the same as we mere mortals do? We watch movies, spend time with family, maybe play board games. Is it the same that you guys do as well?
Exactly the same. I still remember when I was a young engineer, I can go back in the time to look at what I was doing at that time. I had many passion, like seeing movies. I was a movie buff.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I would have watched every movie.
So, if you could please tell, I always ask this question as not one, because it's very difficult for a movie buff, but two of your favorite all-time movies. Two.
See, I'm not of that one that you may hear, not of popular type, but more of classical type. You know, I had a passion to look at the world cinema in a big manner. All the time I have been watching many of them, the classics of many years, like Eisenstein, Kurosawa, okay, all that stuff. Even started from Pathar Panjali onwards.
You watched Pathir Pachali as well?
My younger time, I am not now.
I know. I mean, that's incredible. Okay. Pathir Pachali is one of the greatest movies made in Indian cinema history by Satyajit Ray, Oscar winner Satyajit Ray.
I still remember the movies like Chomanadudi. Yeah, you want. I don't know whether heard of it. Huh? Some of the classics, movies of Indian and Western creators. And later years, then I would have been seeing almost all movies, Hindi, Malayalam. But you know, in Kerala, we have a great movie culture.
Totally.
About classical movies of that time, Adur Gopalakrishnan and many others who created it. And you call them award-winning movies, but somehow the passion for such movies were created by my father into me.
Oh, wow.
So I loved those movies. The movie making was very interesting topic for me. So always not looking at the movie, but I looking at the making of the movie.
Wow.
The lighting, the color, the shots. It's all such a passion for me. But I didn't become a filmmaker, of course. But then when your first question about what other passions people do, they get into music. I was also learning music. At that time, I learned keyboard when I was an engineer in ISRO. I was practicing. I learned Carnatic classic music. I went for the classes. I did a little bit of cartooning. And many of my friends do the same. I think they all find time to do some of those passions. They were not great artists, but they always find some. They find a way. We also organize some art festivals, cultural festivals. Last month I had a great art festival in Trivandrum, which I also participated with all the people from us joining. We have space scientists, engineers associations where we organize our get-togethers and things like that.
Lovely.
Yeah,
Lovely.
all that happens.
Sir, since you mentioned that you're a movie buff, when your biopic gets made, and it's 100% going to get made and it's going to be a pan-India blockbuster for sure, but when your biopic gets made, which Indian actor would you want to play you?
No, there are many starting from yesterday. I was watching in the TV about the Sholay, Amitabh Bachchan. Still,
Amitabh sir it'll be a little difficult for him to play your younger days, no sir?
maybe he's too tall.
Amongst the young actors, sir, because they have to start from your early days. So that actor has to play your early, of course, early days, different actor will be cast. But one actor who can play from your 20s till now.
Oh, you want to tell someone from Indian movie?
Yeah, from Indian movie actor, current.
Looking like me.
Maybe, yes.
No, Shah Rukh Khan said that I am the. He made some comment about me.
Perfection. Perfect. We'll have Shah Rukh Khan play Sir in Sir's biopic. That's a guaranteed pan-India blockbuster. If you can give one message to young Indians, doesn't matter if they want to be engineers or scientists, but young Indians looking to find a path, what one message would that be for you, from you?
See, the first and foremost is the power of education is tremendous. I can tell you that it's what made me what I am today. Otherwise, I would have been a village boy, at the best doing becoming a school teacher or an agriculturist or something like that. Not beyond that. So the power of education has a transformative power. One of the point that everyone should realize in India is still we have huge gaps that are to be filled, especially in villages. Forget about the cities and towns that you see. And the quality of education also has to be improved substantially, especially when you talk about the higher education institutions, which is also something that we need to focus on. The most important point which I am trying to stress is, as a nation, we are aspiring to become a top one. Let it be from 5 to third an economy we are talking about. Why not first? But if you have to achieve that, the only way is technology. It cannot come from natural resources. It cannot come from trading. There is a wealth creation happening out of all this in any system, in any country you can look at it. But if a country has to become powerful, to become a leader of nations, to decide the fate of this whole world, to decide on how these things should happen, and that too in a manner that is conducive for everyone to grow. And that is the only nation is India, in my opinion, has the ability to do that, to become a leader. For that, India has to become very powerful. For that, India has to become technically, technologically super. And for that, we need people who will take India to that direction. So many things have to happen over a period of time. One, our institutions, educational institutions have to become world class. There is no lack of talent here. I can see the talent even in the remotest village. Given an opportunity, they will become the bright minds of the world. The opportunities are lacking. So if the whole of the system are able to pick some people out of it and bring them to that level, especially from villages, I have hope that India can be transformed. Equally important is to build our institutions in a manner which will be conducive for that growth. Not to focus on small time gains, but to look at the larger picture. Maybe 50 years later, we are going to be a decision maker of the world. It has to be built over such a societal, political, strong foundation. But the ultimate growth will be based on only technology. It cannot happen without that. Space, as a space engineer, I am very enthused to work on this domain. But space alone is not the path. It is fundamental science, research, development, innovation that yield to go to industry, create value, create economic cycle. Through this, we become stronger. It has to happen in space, it has to happen in defense, it has to happen in agriculture, in electronics, in software, in medical care. Everywhere it has to happen. It is happening. But then we need to speed up it. If you go at this speed, it will take 200 years. You need to speed up. So I only hope young people realize it, focus on this type of things, and support people who are pushing these ideas. Scientists, researchers, educationalists, teachers. Your roles are so important for the building of the nation. Work for it, dedicated manner.
Absolutely. So you have been vocal in the past about the fact that you are a spiritual person. How you're a scientist, how has the science and the development and the spirituality, the marriage of that, how did that happen in your life, and how much did that help you as a person and as a workforce person as well?
See, I was born in a family which has certain system of beliefs, and we grew up seeing it around us, worshipping natural forces. In fact, in my house, there was we call it kavu. There is a small pond and there is a small forest at the corner of my land. And there is a temple where with the snakes are the worshipping. And we used to conduct this puja, music. So we were natural worshippers. We worship, you know, moon, sun, earth, water, river. Everything is an element, object of worship for us. Even rocks. I remember people asking me, how can you worship a rock? You won't understand. How can you worship a tree? No, I have been worshipping trees. We bow our head in front of trees.
We breathe oxygen that comes from the trees.
There are scientific part. This is about a teaching part. No, I was taught like that. But then I never understood the meaning when I was young. But when I grew up, I have been thinking about it. I was, what is the meaning of all of this? And the meanings are becoming clearer and clearer when I become older. Because the connect between us and the nature is so much. And all of this are nothing but the manifestation of that omnipotent power, which you call ourselves the God. And once you realize that everything living, non-living are nothing but its own manifestations, you look at it and then look at with great awe to find out how it all came about and what is your place in the whole of the system and who are you. These questions comes very striking in front of you. And you can ignore them and go ahead and do your daily routine. You can also think about it and become spiritual. It is your choice. But my choice is that I always think about that direction while I think about my science. They don't contradict each other. They complement each other for me. Because when I think about space, exploration, even going beyond the planets, also about microscopic things of the Higgs boson or particles, still it's an enigma. There are no answers. And when there are no answers, many a time spirituality becomes very important.
Yes. So true, sir. So true. Again, wonderful advice for all the young kids out there. Sir, Prime Minister Narendra Modi very recently launched a special date as the Indian Space Day every year. Your take on that, sir?
It's a National Space Day, he announced, 23rd August, remembering celebrating the success of Chandrayaan relanding at Shiva Shakti Point. So let us celebrate this year, the first National Space Day, 23rd August. And it's already happening across the country in many institutions, organizations are arranging events, to the run up to the event on 23rd August, which will happen. The final event will be at Delhi. President of India is going to inaugurate the function, followed by many events on that day. And we are connected mostly with all the institutions which are part of the space ecosystem, the ministries, departments, and to make sure that the space is become an integral part of their culture of work, their delivery system, etc. And also to make sure the public is aware about this great accomplishment and it resonates in their mind for those particular objective of building a great nation. So that's why there is a National Space Day.
Absolutely. Sir, since you mentioned public and the awareness in their mind, it most definitely is. Since you're movie buff, I'll just give this one example. 20 years back, a movie was made about space. People would only talk about NASA when they would talk about space back then. In the last 10 years, especially in the last 5 years and more, when people talk about space, there's just one thing that we have in our minds, Indians, and that is ISRO. And that is because of the achievements, that is because of the hard work put in by you, your team, and people like you. Somanath sir, it was an absolute honor to talk to you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving us your time. And you do tell us, how did you enjoy this podcast episode here at GDP at MyGov with ISRO Chairman Somanath sir? And of course, keep watching MyGov for more such content that you only watch on MyGov. This is me, Korak Roy. See you in the next podcast.